So will 2021 be the comeback for earnings and the economy that investors are banking on, that stock prices need? Or has the market gotten a little too optimistic? Let's bring in Rob Hallworth. He's Senior Investment Strategist at U.S. Bank Wealth Management, and Megan Horneman, Director of Portfolio Strategist at Verdence Capital Advisors. Rob and Megan, welcome. Megan, I see in my notes that you are a little cautious on the market. You are urging overweighting cash. You see a pullback as likely as the market absorbs the record rally and maybe thinks the stimulus isn't enough. Explain what you're seeing for the first half of 2021.
The first half of the year is going to be the biggest challenge for the economy next year. We have rising COVID cases. If it's given us any indication on what we may see in the first quarter, we can look back at what happened after the 4th of July holiday. We can look back at what we've seen after Thanksgiving. And what we're seeing right now is people are traveling. They're getting out and about. So the rising COVID cases is probably here to stay for some time. The economic data that we saw today, for example, let's also look at that. The personal income and spending data, that was from November. And in November, we had very little clarity around fiscal stimulus. So it's really not surprising to me that you saw a dip in spending. We think it's going to be challenged as well in the first quarter as you get into maybe potential more regional lockdowns as well.
All right, so Rob, let's turn to you and get your reaction to what Megan just said. Not a rough first half, but maybe a restrained one of 2021. Do you see it that way?
We actually see that we're in a soft patch right now, but we think that relieves, there's some pressure relieved as we move into the next 2 quarters, primarily because we expect to get stimulus, although there is some error term around that. And when we think about where we were in terms of growth over the last year, early this year in the first 2 quarters, we have some pretty easy comps to overcome when it comes to economic growth. So we're actually a little more constructive in terms of the economy in the first half of the year, and that leaves us still more constructive on markets as we enter 2021.
So where, Rob, would you urge people to put their money? What would you overweight? What would you potentially underweight?
Yeah, our emphasis right now is really on stocks over bonds. And within stocks, we'd emphasize the U.S. a little bit more than non-U.S. With a focus on mid-caps because we think the rotation trade is happening. The vaccine is here. It's being distributed. And we find that to be very constructive. There's obviously a risk if it doesn't get through fast enough. And we've got still a lot of time to get enough of the population vaccinated. But I think the market's really focused on that reopening as we get through the vaccinations.
So let me turn back to you, Megan. As you look for long-term acceleration, you say that if there are pullbacks in the near-term horizon, you would use them as buying opportunities in light of your greater confidence long-term. Where would those buying opportunities likely appear?
So I do agree with Rob as well that this rotation that we've seen, I think, has some legs. Now, while I mentioned it's going to be a rough first half of the year, the second half of next year and into 2022, we're going to see a whole different side of pent-up demand from consumers. This is going to come from travel, leisure, and this is where I think some of those areas that have lagged the market, and mid-caps is one that I like as well, but whether it's energy, financials, look at what you're seeing today with the hopes of a bigger stimulus package than we had previously thought. I think some of those areas will catch up. And you're talking about a multi-year acceleration in growth because you have massive fiscal stimulus, very easy monetary policy, and you have the vaccine, which is a game changer and should be fully distributed by the second half of next year.
All right, and there you see airline stocks moving higher as well. They have had a rough year, but maybe coming back as travel comes back just a bit. Rob Hallworth and Megan Horneman, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Rahel.